Hey guys, it's Karalynn Cromeens. Welcome back to the Quit Getting Screwed podcast, where we talk about all the ways not to get screwed in the construction industry and really great tips on how to run a better business. And on that, I have somebody who's here to help us with the marketing side of things that is, not everybody's favorite thing to do, but so necessary in today's world, is Gordon Henry. Hey, Gordon, how are you?
Hi, Karalynn. Nice to see you.
Hey, so I know you have the Winning on Main Street podcast, and you're also in charge of Thrive. So before we dive into all the questions I have for you, tell us a little bit about your background and about Winning on Main Street and about Thrive.
Yeah, sure. So I started my career a long time ago now, a few decades, really in the marketing space, specifically in the direct marketing space. And, what that really means is marketing directly to customers kind of one-to-one as opposed to, more broad-based advertising and being able to measure the results. And I would say, by the way, that anybody who's listening to this should seriously be thinking about their direct marketing approach. How do they identify who are their target customers? How do they bring them into them and measure the effectiveness of that recruitment effort, in terms of what's the ROI or the cost versus the return on that investment. But I started doing that back in the 90s. Used to be through direct mail, less of that now, more digital. In 2000, I met up with the CEO of a company called Yellow Book, Joe Walsh. Ended up working for Joe, still work for Joe 23 years later. Yellow Book was an independent sort of upstart Yellow Page advertiser going up against the phone companies. We did a tremendous job really beating the phone companies, built a $2 billion business, became part of a $4 billion international company that included the UK and Spain and Latin America, all selling Yellow Pages. And the whole premise was to charge less for the same advertising as the competitors. Businesses were getting overcharged for Yellow Pages advertising, just like they might get overcharged for anything. It was really a monopoly that we were up against, and we were able to deliver the same product for less money, and small businesses loved it. Our customers were always and still are small businesses. We exited Yellow Book in the late 2000s and came back together a few years later to do the same thing with another company, which was called Dex Media, and we've renamed it Thrive. And Dex Media was one of the last remaining big Yellow Pages players. We still publish Yellow Pages. We also do all sorts of online advertising, and our real growth business now is Thrive Software. And the focus of the software is it's really a communications platform so that small businesses can know their customers, communicate properly with their customers. And when I say communicate, that means everything from an appointment to a reminder, to getting paid, to asking for a review in the future. So the full sort of gamut of how you communicate with your customers, which is, I think, is a really, really important thing. Hopefully we'll talk about some more. So that's what I have been doing. I joined the company as the CMO, now became Chief Strategy Officer. But yeah, we've been doing this for another decade, and it's been a great run. Winning on Main Street is just a podcast we do on behalf of Thrive, and it's speaking with small business players every week, asking them about the trials and tribulations of running a small business, what they do for communications with their customers, and what are their tips for success. So that's just something we do as a way to help small businesses and also get the Thrive name out there.
So tell me a little bit more about Thrive. Like, how does it keep you in contact? Is it an add-on with other software? Is it its own thing? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. So Thrive is, I guess, what you typically call a CRM, a customer relationship management system. That can mean different things to different people. But at the base of it, you think, okay, I'm running a small business. Who are my clients? I could write those names down on a piece of paper. I could put them into an Excel spreadsheet, or I could have them in a database, in a digital database where I can do other things with them. And so it starts really with that database of customers. And you might build up that database through your Google or Facebook advertising. Someone clicks and fills out a form. That data, that name and address and information gets dumped into your database. If they sign up for an ebook on your website, that name gets dumped into your database. If they call up your assistant, that name gets dumped into your database. No matter how someone communicates with you, you want those names, and I say names, all the information, address, telephone, etc., in that database. And then how do you communicate with them in the future? Now, obviously, assuming you have approvals, and you can ask for those with a click, you can email them, you can text them, you can, if they want to book an appointment, they book that appointment, and now you can automatically reply and say, yes, I'm available at that time. And then when you need to send them future information, if it's an invoice, an estimate, some other email or text, Thrive makes it super easy to send that information. You have a digital record of it, by the way, so your staff can see it. It's not just you. If you have a staff, they can see what's going, and you can see what they're doing. And then, as I mentioned before, if you do something on social and they reply, that information, you have it all recorded in one place. And then in the future, you have basically a history on every customer. And one of the things I think is so important about this is, first of all, it coordinates and organizes your business. So, you look professional, you look like you have your act together, really makes you look like a big business. You might be a 2-man staff or a 2-woman staff, but you look big because you look like you have your act together. And I think it's super important for small businesses these days to have something like a Thrive. Why? Because, like it or not, you, me, and everybody else I know, we live on our phones. And if you're not communicating with people the way they want to be communicated with, they're going to forget about you, and they're probably going to go somewhere else because somebody else is going to make it easier. I know me, I like to be paying for things with one click. I like to be getting electronic receipts. All that stuff makes, doing your taxes easier, right? So you need to be doing business with people digitally the way they want to do business. And then the other piece is, in the future, if you ever intend to sell your business or even bring in a partner, selling your business is like so much easier and so much more profitable, I think, if you have that record. Because what is the buyer buying? They're buying your digital database. They're buying your customer list. And so now you've got this perfect customer list to sell somebody.
So is it its own independent software, or does it build with other softwares? How does that work?
It's its own independent software. And by the way, we're introducing new modules like a marketing center, which obviously focuses on making it easier for you to advertise, not just on Google and Facebook, but across the internet. You can sort of dial that up and down and measure it and watch it yourself. And that all plugs into your digital database. It does. The internet is an ecosystem these days. Think of the App Store on your iPhone. Everything's got to fit together. We realize that most small businesses use QuickBooks for their accounting. Many of them have used MailChimp or Constant Contact for their email in the past. They may want to come into Thrive and use our email, but they may want to stick with what they've been using. And so we've made it super easy to integrate with pretty much all the popular software with one click. We have our own app marketplace. We're adding to it every day. It's an 80-20 on the internet. Like 80% of the usage of apps is in like 20% of the apps. Like I mentioned, if you go like QuickBooks, a few more, and you've covered most of what small businesses use. And then, we do add new ones all the time. So yeah, it's totally integratable so that the data flows easily back and forth.
Gotcha. And you can tell where they came from and what's working.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, because that's a common complaint or objection. Somebody will say, hey, I've been using this QuickBooks for years. I can't give that up. I got to be able to continue to use that while I'm using your new system because, they got all their history in there and they're familiar with it. So we get that.
That's awesome. So in your opinion, why do successful businesses have systems, and what do those systems look like?
Yeah. So, it's all about making your business, as is an invented word, but like replicatable, right? You need to make it so that the customer experience is kind of the same day after day. And regardless if you're there or maybe your partner's there or different employees sitting in front of the customer, you want to have the same experience. It's kind of like, McDonald's or Amazon, right? I mean, you think about it, like big businesses are very good at making your experience the same every time you use them. And part of that is the way you communicate with them. And that gets back to having a system for communication, just like you hopefully have a system for building whatever it is you build, if it's a construction crew or creating whatever product is you're delivering. You want that to be something that the customer can rely on. And similarly with you really should have, I think, a communication plan for how every customer, what their experience is with you, right? from that first appointment, you know, you should have that information. They should get the notification. Do you promise that you're going to show up in 2 days? Do you show up that the guy is going to show up in a uniform or put the booties on when he goes into the house? You know, like that experience should be very predictable. And that becomes part of your brand. You know, that becomes who you are. It's like we do it in a certain way. And part of that is that client communication. And so that's why I think it's important where everything is predictable from a client experience standpoint, and that can be built into your systems, whether it's communication or any other system you have. You know, a lot of construction and a lot of other businesses who I've interviewed, they talk about SOP, standard operating procedure. Documenting your standard operating procedure, all the things we just talked about, how you do what you do, and putting it in, you know, used to be in a binder, now hopefully in maybe a digital binder, and getting your customer or your employees to understand what that is and behave that way is a lot of what it takes to be successful, so that it's not just make it up fresh every day.
No, I agree. And especially in the construction industry, right? And I think in every industry, you're hiring somebody to do something you don't know how to do, which means you don't know a whole lot about it. And from my world, I've been in construction litigation forever. And most of the cases where builders get sued or contractors get sued could have been prevented if they had properly communicated expectations. Like, here's a realistic completion date, and just answering questions on a timely basis and just being upfront. So I think communication is key to every business, but especially in the construction business where, you know, there's unrealistic expectations like HGTV and things out there that they don't, you know, the client doesn't know any better. And if you don't tell them, those are the standards you're judged against. And that's when we get in trouble, in my experience. So I think communication is huge, and especially being able to track it and make it easy for everybody and have all the information in there. Absolutely. So something else I know you know a lot about that I'm trying to figure out how to do in my own business. How do you build a business that doesn't need you, that doesn't need the boss?
Yeah. So it really, I think we sort of laid the foundation for it. And it is a really important goal to have because nobody wants to buy you. They want to buy your business without you. And so, you know, and too many entrepreneurs go into business and it's like that old E-Myth book, you know, they just think, oh, I got to work harder to, you know, get the pies out the door. And it's not so. I mean, you really have to think about what are those systems you're going to build in order that you don't need to be there. And how does your business run without you having to be there? Now, be nice to think, oh, I can just hire a bunch of people, but we can't all afford to do that. But I do think that back to the technology can do a lot of the work. Let me give you a simple example. Thrive, by the way, Thrive costs the basic package starts at $199 a month. So if we can save you, you know, a few days, or if we can, you know, one more job or something, you know, depending on your business, it's not super expensive compared to a lot of what's out there. And then we have some more expensive packages. But a lot of people think for me to send out an email or a notice or do my social, I need an assistant. Okay. If you have a package like ours, the emails can be automated. The texts can be automated. The bills can be automated. The receipts can largely be automated. All that stuff can be automated now, essentially saving you the cost of hiring an assistant. And if we can save you one assistant, just one, you know, that pays for the package multiple times. So you really should be thinking about how much can I do digitally? I mean, there are people who run businesses with no employees. You know, how do they do that? They do it because they automate everything. Now, you know, not everybody can do that, but, you know, start thinking about what can the technology do for me? The most simple being, if you have a list of 1,000 customers or prospects and you want to send out a quarterly email newsletter, you can sit there on January 1st and program that thing for the whole year and never think about it again.
Yeah. And that's really, I mean, that's how you run a business that doesn't absolutely need you. And then, so once you can get that set up, how do you plan for your exit strategy? Or if you want to sell, what does that look like? Once you get all the systems set up.
And I've talked to, you know, a lot of experts on that subject too. being able to point to, think about it from the other guy's perspective. So prospective buyer walks in. What do they want to see? They want to see clean financials for at least 3 years. Okay. They want to see your customer list. They want to see a history of those jobs. If you have employees, obviously they want to understand, what does the team look like? And they would want to understand how you do the projects you do. And so somehow having that captured in a documented fashion, so that they can basically say, great, you can leave now, here's your money, and the thing will continue to run by itself. I mean, you would never think, boy, if I somehow bought, a big business today, I don't know, Chili's restaurants or something, how much would that actually depend on me? Like very, very little, other than a few decisions, right? I mean, most of it's just running. You want to get your smaller business to sort of be like that, where somebody can step in and basically sit in their chair making just a few decisions, but not have to, figure out how to make the products, deliver the products every day.
So in getting those customers and all of that, how do you use digital marketing to get leads? How, in your experience, what's the most successful way to do that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Karalynn, anything to do with the information world has changed so much just in my, 30 years or so in the business. You used to have mostly, printed yellow pages that a lot of local businesses would buy an ad in. Now that went to online, then it went to Google search and Facebook search. And now there's many other ways people get, information, but you've got to be building a digital advertising campaign, so that people know you're out there. And, most of your listeners are probably doing this to some extent, but you got to be, testing what are the keywords I'm buying? How am I building my social media presence? It's a really important thing that a lot of businesses don't think about as much. They think maybe just like buy a Facebook ad or something. But in addition to building your website, you should have a social presence, because so many people are, on social looking for things. And I think not just having a nice logo and having, a few nice words about your business, but actually having pictures and even videos of what you do. One thing I think small businesses really underestimate and could do much better with is video.
Definitely.
And what I'm talking about is actually showing potential customers how you do what you do. So like if I go to your website, can I actually see your workers inside the house building the house, or on the roof nailing in the roof, or in the backyard doing the landscaping? Can I see that? Because, nobody wants to be advertised to and nobody wants to be sold to, but everybody likes to buy when they're ready to buy that thing. And they really research it a lot. I mean, you think about it, like, I don't want to see car ads until I'm ready to buy a car. And then suddenly I'm really interested in the car ads. Well, if I'm interested in buying a house and you're a home builder, okay, I really want to see how you do what you do. And if I could see a video of your guys on site building the house and getting a sense of what it's going to be like, that's super valuable. And it's true, I think, for small businesses too. We underestimate. I mean, YouTube is like the most searched engine in the world. Why? Because people love consuming this video information. I mean, it's crazy. A lot of it's silly, like cat videos, but they also consume. I mean, I'll tell you, like, I like to do stuff around the house. I'm not very good at it, but I like to do it. And if it's like fixing a fence or, cleaning out the engine on my boat or whatever, I'll usually look at, YouTube and say, like, who's had a Volvo engine that needed to have, water circulating through it before or something, like you'll Google all this stuff and you'll get a YouTube video and so you should think about creating that content so that people can find you, because when people are looking for your business, they're going to do their homework. That's what everybody does. Used to be that the quote, salesman supplied most of the information that the consumer got. Now the salesman has to realize that the consumer has more information than they do, because they've done all this homework. I mean, again, you go into a car. Most people, when they buy a car now, they pretty much they know the brand, they know the model, they know all the, inside configurations they want. They know everything. And they walk into the car dealer and they know more about the car than the car dealer does practically. Used to be very different. So think about it that way, that you're supplying that information your future consumer wants to get access to.
What if you can't do like professional videos? What if does it have to be professional? What are you saying?
I would adjust or modulate a little bit based on the size of your business, but basically don't worry about it because, first of all, the phones today are pretty amazing. And so you can get a pretty good quality video for, free really if you have an iPhone. So I would err on the side of get it done, get started, and then maybe you get better at it and you decide I want to get something a little bit better. But I think for most of what you're talking about, the point is get the message across. If you, especially like a lot of home stuff, I mean, you just think about things people are needing help on. Like I needed help recently on my heating system. I just wanted to see, do you fix the kind of heater I have? So if I could go to, Google you and you're showing me a video of you fixing my exact type of heater, great. It doesn't have to be, Hollywood. It just needs to show me what you do.
How do you think all this stuff has changed customer expectations?
It's a little bit unfortunate because my passion is small businesses, but what's changed is the big guys have set the bar that everybody has to follow. So what do I mean by that? Amazon has, I don't know, you tell me, 24-hour delivery, 48-hour delivery. I mean, you basically push a button and you're looking at a tracking system that's showing, well, the package left the warehouse. It's on the truck. It's at my local, postal sorting center. It's on the way to my house. You see that package going to your house the entire way. And so if you're in the package delivery business or, people want to see that too. They expect you're somehow going to have that, even though you're not Amazon. Similarly, like think about Uber, they show the little car driving up to your driveway. How can you put up with a local taxi service that, barely answers the phone, let alone shows you when they're going to show up? My biggest frustration as a homeowner, there's so many, we bought the home we're in relatively recently. So, new homeowner, you always have lots of deliveries. And so many of the businesses that deliver things to you, they're like, well, we'll be there Tuesday. When Tuesday? Am I supposed to sit here? It's not 1950, I'm supposed to sit here all day waiting for your truck to show up. And that's the expectation. And so you're like, I don't want to do business with you because I can't waste my whole day, and neither can my wife.
Yeah.
So use the technology available. There is that, in Thrive, it's not there yet, but it's going to be there soon. We're going to have a dispatch software that shows the truck going to your house. Start to introduce those technologies that give people more information. Everybody wants more information.
Absolutely.
And it's cheaper. It's not as expensive as it used to be.
No, I absolutely agree. So what is one key thing that you would leave our small businesses with to try to run a better, successful business? If they're going to start with one thing, where would they start? Kind of give, and then the next thing.
I think if I was going to start someplace, it's have a digital database of your customers. If somebody wants to know, show me every customer you do business with, you should be able to pull up a file and show name, address, not just name and address, and telephone and email address, but the history of your interactions with that customer. That's the richness that we deliver for you. You can literally see, when I say richness, you can see every text and email that's corresponded between you and your customer, an entire history, and your staff. So if you, I don't know how, sometimes I'll have a random, I remember I took a picture of that thing 2 years ago, but I can't find it. And you can search for this information now and it's all sitting there. Or, what if, God forbid, somebody sues you and says, well, your assistant promised me XYZ when I started working with you. You would have all that information in your database and you could prove to them, no, actually, you thought she said this. I have a record of it. She said that.
Absolutely. And I have to go through bank records to find it and spend hours looking for it.
Yeah. You don't want to have that, in a box on a piece of paper in the garage where it's going to, get moldy and not even be recognizable in 12 to 24 months.
So if people wanted to find more about Thrive or Winning on Main Street podcast, where would they go?
Sure. Well, Thrive is easy. It's thrive.com, and it's spelled THRYV.com. And Winning on Main Street, you can just Google Winning on Main Street to find me in the podcast, or you can also find it on our website. But we'd love to have more listeners checking us out. And, again, we're all about helping small businesses. All of our customers are small to medium-sized businesses, usually 1 to 25 employees. That's who we're here to help. And, we welcome your listeners to check us out.
Yes,
by the way, I do want to say, if you're interested in the software, you can get a free demo. You don't have to make any kind of commitment. Just go to the site, click get a demo, and you'll speak to a really whippersnapper smart young person who's really good with the software, who can show you how to do it and explain to you how easy it can be. It doesn't take technical genius to use this. It's actually designed to be consumer grade.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gordon. I appreciate you being on the show and taking the time.
Yeah, great speaking with you. And thank you, by the way, for being on Winning on Main Street. That episode's coming out soon. Yeah.
I know. I had a great time. I definitely check out the podcast and Thrive, guys. And it really help you get a lot more reach being a smaller business for not that much money. Honestly. So thank you guys for listening to the podcast again. Thanks. Hey guys, Karalynn Cromeens. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I've made a promise to never have paid ads in my podcast because I truly want it to be an educational series. But as part of that, then you're going to have to hear the things that I have to sell and then causes that are near and dear to my heart. I want to introduce you to a charity called Heroes for Children. They can be found at heroesforchildren.org. They are in the business of helping families with children who have cancer. And I think as a parent of healthy children, we take for granted the fact that our kids are healthy and we don't have to deal with a terminal illness or an illness that's going to change the way the family works. One parent's going to have to take off work and deal with being in the hospital all the time. So this charity is like immediate assistance, helping families with children who have cancer. So check it out, heroesforchildren.org. They're always having events at poker nights, easy ways to donate. So if you're getting anything at all out of this podcast, I ask that you give back in a way such as this. Go to heroesforchildren.org. Thanks.